Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
This is going to be interesting because the stuff you're going to be bringing in today has not been spoken on this show ever, which is going to be popping my cherry, and everybody else's. Testicles, 1, 2, testicles. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Paranoid Radio Podcast. I am Trebles Garcia, the humble host of this amazing adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the Lord for allowing me to be here today, and I want to thank every single one of you for allowing me to enter your space. Do not forget you can find us at paranoidradio.com. Make sure you check us out at paranoidradio.com. Cuff up a t-shirt. You can check us out absolutely free for all unbothered, untouched, and unedited shows. Do not forget to drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. I have an amazing episode lined up with a very, very special guest. She's never been here before. And the stuff that she's going to be presenting to all of us is brand new, even for me. Some numerology stuff, some phrenology stuff with a little twist. All right. Now let's jump in from the deep end of the pool, ladies and gentlemen. Our next special guest is here to speak about ghosts, demons, numerology, and phrenology. In fact, all of her info is based on hands-on experience. She recently shared some images via IG that had me with chills and remembering the very night I myself saw a brownie. Please welcome shaman, psychic medium, picture reading numerologist, expert, house property clearing specialist, phrenologist, paranormal missing person case investigator, Vicky from Born Awake Oracle on IG. How's it going, Vicky?
I'm doing pretty darn good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show. Hey, check this out. You have an amazing, you have an abundance of information on your page, and I was intrigued the moment I saw you. I've been waiting for about almost 2 months for you to jump on this show. Quite frankly, I don't give a fuck about the following. I care about the information that's being put out, and if it intrigues me, if it touches my heart, I want to put it out, and I want to amplify your message. Before anything, Vicky, where can people find you?
You can find me at Born Awake Oracle and Spiritual Teaching on Instagram, and also on Clapper.
Oh, check that out. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, to check her out on Instagram. And she's also going to be featured on a drop-down menu of special guests and links on paranoidradio.com at the end of this show once the show is dropped and published. Now, Vicky, I understand that you know a little bit about numerology, and you also shared a lot of images of intimate pictures that your customers and your followers send you so that you could clarify what they are, so that you could guide them, so you could give them some clarity. Before anything, I did share with you that I saw a brownie, so I am a believer of the different dimensions that are happening, that are crossing our day-to-day business and events, and things that are happening on a daily basis on the same timeline that we exist in today. I also understand that we also have to have massive respects for these other powerful entities and beings. Regardless of what people think they are, you should also be respectful of them because they're also living their lives. Now, explain to me numerology, and then we want to jump into phrenology. How'd you get into this, first of all?
It started when, well, I'm going to go back a little bit further. My name on my account is Born Awake, and I was literally born awake. I remember my being in heaven, called upon to come down here, going through the firmament, and then being in the womb. I remember all of it. I even remember coming out of the womb, seeing the doctor, describing the doctor and everything to my grandmother and stuff. My grandma Tucker knew I was a very special child growing up. And that I'm going to leave it right there. So anyway, there's a lot of things that I knew of and I kept quiet about, especially coming from a family that were registered nurses at mental wards and everything, you know.
Wow.
So you just kind of, you know, my angels were saying, don't say anything, don't say anything. And so I didn't. And so it was like very hard to take and you know, go through this as a child, but I did, because I was a very sensitive child to the other realms. I'd see things and hear things and feel things, and So anyway, how I got into it was in 2011, I started going into a huge awakening. It started in 2011 and it got more intense, and it went all the way up until 2017. I mean, it was like paralyzing. That's how intense it was. So I was going up to my next levels of awakening, and I was constantly seeing numbers like 111, 1111, 12, 12, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, you know, 747, 757, so forth, you know. And so it was like I just got into checking it out, and I was in with this group. It's called it's called Human Angels, and there were people that, you know, did special things and stuff like that and everything with numerology and all that. So I went there, and this lady it was Christmas time. We were all talking, each and every one of us was gifted, and we were sitting there talking, and we got to pull our number out to see which one we got, and it was a really in-depth one, and it hit to a T, the information. And it's Joan Sacred Scribes. She is one of the first numerologists, and she goes in depth, describing what each number means, and then them combined together and the angel message and things. And so I asked the lady, I said, who is this? She said, Joan Sacred Scribes. And I said, okay. So I started, during this intense awakening, I started looking up the numbers and everything. And I literally sat for an hour and a half and talked to my angels by using numerology. I would ask a question, and then they would respond back on my phone with a numeric message, and I would look it up, and it would hit exactly what I needed to know.
The answer through code, numbers.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And you gotta realize too, everything is made up of numbers. Everything is. Our DNA, you know, how the dirt's made, everything is an energy, everything is a number. And people need to understand that from the month of your birth, your date of your birth, and your year of your birth. Now you can combine those together, okay, and get I think it's your life path number is what it is. And then you do it separately. Each one means something different. Like people that are born on the 3rd, the 3, the 12, and the 21, okay? Those people, they have to work hard for their money. They're hard workers, and they don't get help from a lot of people. See? And that's the day. That's the date of that person's birthday, you know, that day and things. So every number means something different, and it means something different. Individual, doubled up, tripled up, and 4 times over.
Yeah.
From your street number, your address, your birthday, to your license plate.
Wow. Oh,
to your
God.
telephone number, to your telephone number, to what is it? Even information on your bills, your bill account number. It all adds up.
Do I, if I may interrupt? Now, this is interesting because I was thinking only the numbers that you're born with. For example, the number, your height, once you hit an adulthood, your weight, number of hairs, for example, I don't know, your age, day, the time you were born, AM, PM, all of this has to do with the cosmos, and it has to do with numerology. But I had no idea that it went in deep, as in even your license plate. So you're telling me that numbers that are also given to you by others, for example, your license plate, your home address, that has to do everything with who you are and what your path is going to be.
There's a message to it. There's a message to it. Your license plate can even tell you if you're going to be in an accident or not, or if your car is going to break down, or if it's going to be a lemon and stuff. And honestly, do you think people really pick that number? No, they don't. Their angels tell them to pick that number and assign it to you.
So it's not all by random. It's not all by, everything has a purpose. Is that what you're saying?
Everything is assigned to everybody. Everything is assigned to everybody. Before you come down here and enter the earthly realm through the firmament and everything, and take on all the physical pain and all the programming and everything and stuff, everything is assigned. Everything is dotted and the T's are crossed.
Wow. Okay. Now, the people that are assigning you these specific numbers, the number on your license plate, the number on your ID, the number on your license, on your passport, etc. All of these numbers that are assigned to you, can they be influenced or assigned by evil entities, by evildoers?
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of synthetic people out there and a lot of NPCs out there and stuff. I mean, they're all around. I mean, these are people that you shouldn't even be running into. It's a waste of time, and they're time wasters. They will waste your time.
Holy smack, dude. Wow. That's deep. You know, I never thought about it that depth. I was always thinking, oh, it has to do with cosmetology, the Titan that aboard, that your ruling planet, etc., etc. But now you're eliminating that whole cosmos, because you haven't mentioned the cosmos. You mentioned the firmament, which leads me to believe that we don't live. You actually believe in flat Earth? Is that where your belief system roots?
I'm sorry?
Is that where your belief system roots, the flat Earth?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, it is. It's flat, but it goes into being hollow. Do you understand? It's not a round globe. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's flat and then it bubbles down like this. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, when we're up in heaven, everything is assigned to us. And then when we come through the firmament, that's when we lose the angelic, the spiritual part, and we take on the earthly realm part. Okay. And we start taking on physical pains in the body, like me in the womb, my back started hurting and my knees started hurting and my nervous systems were kind of like rattled when I was in the womb. And I remember kicking really hard to get out and stuff. And finally I just did one big kick and boom, I was out. Next thing I know, I'm looking at the doctor and he's got gray hair and these silver rimmed glasses and he's got a cap on, and how I know it's right is because my grandma said that was the doctor that came out and told us you were a girl.
Oh my goodness, dude, that is shocking. Wow.
Yeah.
And for you to remember that much, the details.
I remember a lot more. I remember being in the crib and the first demon I encountered and everything. I remember being 24 hours old and going home and then going to Nebraska, flying on a plane with my mom and my family over to Lincoln, Nebraska. And she was sitting by a window and I was looking out the window and I remember the fields. They looked like toasted pieces of toast, big toasted pieces of toast. And I remember they got in their, the boxcar Novas, remember the boxcar Novas and stuff? Got in that. We drove to my aunt and my great great grandma and grandpa who spoke both pure Dutch. And they were each 102 years old.
Wow.
And I remember I couldn't understand them. My great great grandma wore a white sweater and those old polyester black skirts with those big clunky old fashioned grandma shoes. Yeah. And here's my grandpa all dapper, my great great grandpa all dapper, wearing one of those hats. I can't remember what they're called, and he's reading a newspaper in one of those cigar chairs with the lamp hanging over him. And I couldn't understand what they were saying or anything, and stuff. But I remember all of that. And then I remember the color of my bedroom and everything and where it was put at. And I told my grandmother this, and she went into her bedroom and she was in there for like a long time. I thought maybe she went and laid down, and I heard this thumping around, and then she comes out with this picture album that was like this thick, and she started opening the pictures and proving to me that everything I said was correct. And then that's when she told me, she said, Vicky, I've always known that you were a special child. And then
she had the gift also.
Pardon me?
She also had the gift?
No, but I found out through my aunt, her other daughter, my Aunt Margaret, that I had a great aunt that was very gifted too. But it also depends on your birth chart too, and the planet, certain planets in certain houses and the way they're lined up and everything. And I always tell people, go get your astrology chart done. You will learn so much about yourself. You will learn your gifts, what you should be doing in employment. You'll learn what type of family you came from and everything. You'll learn, you'll have a better understanding. You'll even learn the cycles that you go through in life. And then when somebody says, well, Jupiter's conjunct Mars, you'll know, oh crap, this is the cycle that's going to start. I'm not going to repeat this stuff and on and on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what? That is funny. That is funny. I haven't gotten it done. I'm very intrigued into this stuff. Before I found out.
Honestly, you really, really should, because I'm telling you, you'll learn so much about yourself, and you'll see it, and it'll tell you why you were born in. Like I have Pluto in the, I think it's the 9th house is what it is. And people that have Pluto in the 9th house tend to come from very, very abusive and hard backgrounds. And they've basically been disowned by family members. There's constant power struggles throughout their life with people. And their parents tend to be volatile and very violent and abusive.
Wow.
And that describes my family to a T. To a T.
You know, notice I did very light work on astrology, and so what I'm following what you're saying. When is the way they move, the way they cosmos when they're in different houses, the degrees they're in, sometimes during certain full moons, etc. So I know lightly, not very well versed on it, but I know lightly on what you're talking about. And I also did light work on the Aztec astrology that they were following, and then I went into the Chinese, and I wanted to like pick different points of views of how they depict what animal you're going to be in when you're born, what type of, you know, they're like if you got Capricorn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the Chinese have their own system, and the Aztecs have their own system, and the Aztecs have the elements in your earth and your grass, et cetera. So they have different elements, and I was intrigued by it. But what stopped me learning about it was when I started finding out what Saturn worshiping was and sun worshiping with the ancients. And then I got into that, and then the conspiracy theories just, you know, took over a whole different perspective of my brain. But I've always had a calling for that. Not a calling, an interest on learning how to do it or learning more about myself. So now I'm gonna take this as a message, and I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna get it read. I'm gonna see where you know, there's you have to be curious, and you have to be able to deal with facts and also learn about yourself. Yeah, you never know where it might take me.
And don't let things scare you. I mean, there was times I literally looked at my birth chart and looked up information and listened to this a couple of people, and they got really in deep and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, that answers everything. Like there's this lady on Instagram, Shawty's Astrology. And she breaks it down. I mean, she brings it home, okay?
Send me her link. I'm gonna check her out.
Yeah, you should. You really should. And she was doing the placements, and I can't remember exactly which one it was because I got them all jumbled in my head for my birth chart and everything. But I sat on my bed just in shock, because she said that if you have these certain placements, you may live. She said, not everybody that has these placements will encounter this. And she goes, people that have this placement, you may encounter living in haunted houses. And so she's going through them and everything, and then boom, there's this the planet in that house and everything. And that explains it. Ever since I was a child, all the way up until now, every place I've lived has been haunted.
This is, for the people that do not know, this is how horoscopes are read, or I want to say written down and then given to the people. This is how this information is put out to the world, by doing this type of study. If you have ever gone online and went on Capricorn horoscope for day this and that, or for the month of 2024, etc., and you get a full scripture, and you start seeing that during that month, it's not fortune telling. It's just saying certain things may happen on these certain days. This is your luckiest day. This is your best day, the most powerful day for you. Watch out for this and that. You're going to have some struggles here. Do not sign any contracts. Don't do any technological purchases, etc., etc. You start learning the phases of the moons, and start the phases that you can start not predicting what's going to happen, but finding out what days you're going to be mostly energetically, positively powerful, so you could ricochet that shit. You could overcome any other bad thing that happens through you for that specific month. And I do this often. I go to Susan Miller on .com, Susan Miller, I forgot the website, and I check out So I'm a Capricorn. I check out my stuff, right? I check out my for the month of March for the month. Sometimes I skip it because I'm really busy. But when I have like 2 hours to myself, instead of like watching through TikTok, I'm like, let me go check my astrology stuff. And I have the app for it too. And I start reading it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's on the 7th. And you know what? It happens. On the specific day she tells me, yo, 5 days before or 4 days after, this cycle is going to happen to you. You're going to have the best, strongest day on the 12th or on the 13th, whatever day it is, right? And I'm like, oh crap, I already start manifesting it. Dude, before I get to that date, I get a badass news. I get some great news at work. I get a bonus, and it starts working out itself. And then you have the days where you have to prepare for yourself. Don't buy any technological. And there's also the days that I don't record with other people because then I start getting stuck. And it's true. I noticed that when I speak with certain people on certain times of certain year of the certain month, I start even stuttering more. I start becoming like I lose my grit. I lose the passion for what I'm trying to do, or I forget what I'm forgetting. Like my brain wanders because I'm not aligned. So it's very important. This is really it's really interesting. It's almost like fortune talent, I want to say, but yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, you got to remember those ones that you see in the newspaper and on the apps and stuff. Those are general, and you have to, if you really want to know more, you've got to have your birthday at the time, the state you're born in, and specifics to really break it down. But you can get a general for your specific sign, and yes, some of it can be true, and some of it you can manifest stuff to happen too. See,
bam,
our brain is a muscle. Our brain is a muscle. And we are here to learn how to control our brain, not let our brain control us.
I hear you. You know who said that too? Prince, about the internet. You're here to use the internet, not the internet use you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Prince
yeah,
said
about
that.
the internet. Yeah.
So now let's get into before the ending part. So again, where can people find you? Let them know before we get to the second part of this show.
Born Awake Oracle and Spiritual Teaching on Instagram and also on Clapper.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check her out. Born Awake Oracle on Instagram. Now I have another question for you. Fairyology. What's your experience? I want to know your experience first, and then maybe what you could teach us about this, because I saw a brownie, a leprechaun, and I did massive amounts of research on this, and I was like, yo, like I know what I saw. I know exactly how he looks. I need to look through images. I got in contact with this SLC84. Her name is SLC84. She is also a medium in Britain. And she we had an episode together in early season 2, I believe, and she was talking about witchcraft and other things, and we started talking about cryptids and stuff, and she kind of brought some light, and she used to feed them. She used to have, look, I have houses for them. I go feed them. I go see them in the wild. I leave treats for them, etc. I was like, yo, like this chicken she went overboard, like and then the more I got close to this idea that I really did saw this entity, I started noticing that, oh damn, there's a science to this. There's actually a real following, and there's people that have shared this moment with me. They have also lived this. And the day that you showed me, I think it was last night, you sent me that image, bro, I had chills. I felt the chills all over my spine. I was like this for a moment. I was like, what? I was shocked. And I even I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it, because it took me back to that moment when I seen him, and I was in shock like that same emotion. So yeah, sorry for ranting there.
No, it's okay. Share away. A lot of people have these experiences, but they're in denial. The number one thing that I have learned is when a fairy shows themselves to you, literally, physically shows themselves to you, they are putting their trust into you, because it takes a lot for a fairy to, they start out as little black dots, not like the type you see when your blood pressure is low or anything like that. They're like little black dots, like the size tip of your pinky, flying around, okay? And as you start noticing them and start coming into tune with them, they start showing their colors, which would be a orb like this, a ball, and they fly around, and it could be red, green, pink, whatever, and that's their assigned color that they were born into, that they show off, okay? And then eventually you start seeing the wings and the feet and the head.
Get out.
And they can shrink anywhere down to this up to 3 feet tall, like a human being. But they also can be a mist too. Like I built fairy houses. I have over 100 fairies living with me. They help protect me and everything. Okay. And I have houses built. And I remember the first day I gave my first 3 fairies their houses. And I took a picture. But before I did, I said, please show me yourself. And I said, I'm going to take a picture. And so I took a picture, and where the fairies were, the houses were, I could see them with my physical eye, and through the camera with my physical eye, and the houses were clear. But as soon as I took that picture, there was a white mist over the fronts of them, and you could still see the fairy houses, but you can see Bee, Peter, and Lily so excited flying into their homes that I built. And so I have pictures of those too and everything. But yeah, they're a lot like human beings. They do get sick. Some of them eat meat, some of them eat wheat, some of them eat dairy, some of them eat vegetables, some of them eat everything. It just depends. They do have heart attacks. They have eye visions. Megal, he's got eye visions. He kept flying into my refrigerator at the other place. He got so excited. They never seen so much food before in a refrigerator, because they always have to hunt for it. And,
wow, dude, this is so depicted. Oh my God.
I'm not being mean or anything, but this is true. Yes, I've got a few fairies that are gay and lesbian too.
Are you serious?
Sam and Chud the Stud. Yes. And I don't have a problem with that. To each their own. Yeah, but I don't want to force it on me, and they don't. And fairies are very loving. Yes, I had a couple of tricksters come in and everything, and they were scared to kick them out. And I called them in, and you see all these colorful orbs flying into my bedroom and everything. And I told them, we are a community of love and light. I want you all to be comfortable here. And if one of the fairies is causing a problem, you have every right to kick them out. And if you don't want to do it, I will do it. And the thing is they had a community meeting and everything, and they came to me and asked me to do it, and I kicked them out and everything. And I there's a fairy council too. I have a connection with the fairy council. And I called upon the fairy council, and they came to me, a vision like I'm sitting here talking to you. And I explained to them that I cannot have fairies like this, and they literally prevented him from coming back.
This is huge. That got political very fast. Wow.
No, well, there's nothing political about it. This is just, this is real. This is honest. Real. People think that, they're very magical. They're very magical. You don't go into a contract with a fairy or a pixie or an elf or a leprechaun, and there is no contract with them. Like, you have to be a genuine person. You have to be a humanitarian, and it comes from your heart and your soul. And they can sense that, and they can feel it. And then they test you to see if you'll honor them. So I started feeding them, and I started talking to them, and I built them a house, each houses and everything. And I honor them, and I talk about them. And a lot of people say, don't talk about them. Fairies are evil. Da, 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 da. There's good ones, and then there are bad ones. And you don't want the bad ones around. Believe me, you don't.
I've heard.
They can be very dangerous.
I just did an episode on behind the scenes, and I sort of I should have brought this in. I totally forgot. We spoke about how, movies and the elites use the entertainment industry on all levels to not only bombard your senses and make you behave in very low frequencies, but to tell you the truth on what's going to happen in the future, so that you can not only tolerate it, accept it, but then ask and be in love with your enslaver. Ask for you to be enslaved and ship yourself, basically. So during this path right now, what you just did was you opened up a door in one of my memories where I seen a movie of a child that uses a special stone to see these gnomes and fairies and other species of cryptids, and they make his life miserable. And then there is ways to protect your home. And you know what? You know what's funny? That movie's based on fiction, right? But this is very nonfiction, because there has been so many fucking researchers, even like alien abductions. There's so much information on things happening to human beings on all levels, and not it being imagination, it actually being concrete, factual truth. And quite frankly, I read the book. Secret Societies by I forgot her last name, Sylvia Brown, I believe. And she manifested with a group of her friends a Bigfoot during the mists inside the forest.
Bigfoot is real.
Yeah.
Bigfoot is very real. All the cryptics that people bring up are highly real. Believe me, they are very, very real. Reptilians are very, very real. I had an encounter with my friend Carol back in 1988, the ending of it. And it was right down the street from my dad's house. I will not ever forget it. It was a draconian reptilian. And I'm telling you, we won't ever forget it. It's like I can recall it right now, like it is a movie, not a movie, but just in my head, like I'm there and it's happening. And I remember everything I said.
For the ending statements of the show, please share that story. You have to tell me, dude. Now I want to know. Please.
I've also seen the Hat Man too. He stood across the street from my house staring at me through the picture window, and man, that freaked me out. That freaked me out because here I am watching TV. My dad's out of town at his property down at the coast, doing some plumbing work and cutting logs and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, back door's locked, front door's always locked and everything. And something just said, close the blind. And I just got this chill up the back of my,
here we go.
Back of my neck. And my dad's picture window isn't just one of these tiny ones. It's one of these that it's like a $1,600 window, you know, and it's huge. It takes up half the wall. And so I turned around and there's the Hat Man standing there looking at me across the street by Mr. and Mrs. Rudy's house, looking at me like this. And he's got his hat on and it's a black shadow form right there, plain as day. You can see it plain as day. And as soon as I got up, I dropped down to the floor. I started crawling in my dad's room because it was a circle house, right? To get into get to the basement door to open it, to go down to get the rifle. I don't know what I was thinking. I was going to get a rifle. I was ready to go, you know, and everything. And I'm like, this isn't going to work, you know. But as soon as I got up and everything, and before I went down, it started floating. The Hat Man started floating across the street towards the house, towards the front porch, which was a solid window and everything. The top part's a solid window and the bottom part's metal. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And that's when I dropped to the floor and went, you know, crawling on my knees and everything.
Yeah.
So
It's a very interesting, story because at least you weren't attacked. It could get out of hand very, very quick for a lot of people. I have a friend in Virginia that has his tattoo shop. I don't want to share his name on the show, but he's showing me pictures like this, like the one you have in your background. And his brother had died. His brother was using drugs. His brother had died, and with the money that he got from his brother, I guess from his brother's death through the insurance, I don't know what happened. He purchased this tattoo shop where I've said this plenty of times on the show. So interesting. And he wanted to come to the show. I really wanted him to come to the show to share this story. He came up and then he purchased that tattoo shop, and the tattoo shop had like a basement, a really big basement that he converted into like the lunchroom for all the tattoo artists that were working at the shop. Well, a couple of months later, after he purchased it, he started getting poltergeists and a lot of paranormal activity. He was paranormally activated. And what happened was he had to make amends with this fucking ghost, with this entity. He had to, every single time he would bring food on, or he would bring food for everybody, for the employees, he would put the donuts every single morning on the table, and he would tell them, the ghost, help yourself. And he would leave. And every machine would work properly. Everything would be fine. But the days he wouldn't offer any food to this fucking ghost, machines would start wasting, breaking on him. Things would be flying off the fucking wall. Like the entity was pissed off at him. Real true story. And that was like, whoa. And he started taking pictures and videos of his home where he used to see orbs just like the one that you're talking about. Exactly like the ones in that image. Trip the fuck out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think before anybody purchases property, you need to find out if anybody's passed away on that property. And then you got to clear what's in there out before you can bless it. You can't just go in there, I bless this home and da 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 da. No, you got to open up every door, every window, every cupboard, the refrigerator, the oven, stove, the closets, and everything. And you go in there and you go 3 times reverse, saying the Holy Spirit protection prayer, and then you go 3 times clockwise doing it. And you air it out and you get it out, you cast it out, and then you come in and you bless the home.
Look at that. The strategies. Wow.
And you just don't use sage. You can use sage, but you can use yarrow. But you also can use, because sage and stuff is to clear and
Palo Santo
energy. Yeah, Palo Santo, or it's known as holy stick too, is used to bring in fresh energy and sweeten it and stuff. You can use lavender too. You can put lavender by your front door along with rosemary by your front door, just a trail of it across the front, and everything. There's actually there's a prayer that's in the Bible. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but you also put the month and the date and the year above it as a protection too, in chalk.
Look at that.
Above your door on the outside and stuff too. And you do it every year, or you change it every year at that certain time. But it's like everything, you got to change and refresh. It's like us as a human being, we transcend, we grow, we evolve, we look different, and everything. We don't always stay looking 20 at 62, And it's the same with everything. Everything changes. Everything changes, and you got to cleanse it. You got to purify it and things.
Wow. Born Awake Oracle on Instagram. Vicky, one more time, where can they find you? And we're leading out to this amazing episode.
Oh, you want me to tell you? I'm sorry.
Well, you switched it up to the Hat Man, but I was like, that's good enough. That's a great episode. That's a great show too. What happened?
I've got a ton more I can tell you too, my friend. A ton more experience and stuff. Oh, so you want me to tell you about the reptilian?
The reptilian, sure. Right before we end the show.
Okay. So anyway, it was like the ending of 1988. My dad wasn't home, and I saw my friend Carol. She was walking back from her good friend's cousin's house, just like a half a block down the street, going north on 80th Street. And our kitchen window faced west, which faced 80th Street. And she saw my the kitchen light on, and I was doing the dishes from dinner, and she waved at me and I waved at her. And I was like, come over here like this. But the thing was, it was a really creepy, quiet night. I mean, we lived off a busy street where cruisers and stuff like that. And it was like dead silence. I mean, it was just spooky. It was just really spooky. So anyway, she comes in and we're sitting there and we're talking. And I offer her some food and stuff. She's like, no, we got to talking. It was about 11:30 at night. And she's like, well, I'm going to head home. It's getting late. I was like, no, don't. Let me give you a ride. I'll just give you a ride. She's like, no, you don't have to. I'm like, let me
look at that.
A ride. Okay. And my guides are telling me, don't let her walk home. Don't let her walk home. And so I finally talked her into it and everything. So I got her in the car and we're cruising, speed limit's 25. We're cruising about 15, 20 because we wanted to smoke a cigarette. And so anyway, 80th comes to a crossroads where it's Yam Hill, and it goes from 82nd, and then there's a stop sign, and then there's Yam Hill, then 80th, and then it curves and it goes up the hill to Mount Tabor, and then it's kind of offsetting the way the curbs are and everything. But we were cruising up towards Yam Hill to our stop sign, and I look up and I was like, oh my effing gosh, Carol, that is real. That's real. What is that? I didn't know what it was at the time because I never knew about reptilians at the time. I knew about the phrase. Okay. So anyway, she's like, oh, that's not real. And I said, that's real. If that was one of those silicone masks, it would move when it walked, like vibrate when it walked and everything.
Yeah.
And she goes, holy shit. She goes, you're right. It is real. And it caught us looking at it. So we went and started doing a California sunset roll where we're just kind of creeping through the thing. And it looked at us. This thing was like about, oh my gosh, 8, close to 9 foot tall. It was a man. It was dressed as a man. It had the mountain boots on. It had jeans on. It had one of those belts that is like made of material, and you pull it and it clamps like a seat belt, you know. And then it had like a linen, kind of looked flannel, but it wasn't. It was a linen, you know, like grandpa wears and stuff.
Word.
They had the yellow and white and brownish black checkers on there. And then he was wearing one of those bomber jackets that, you know what I'm talking about, that had the zipper, but the elastic around the waist and everything. This thing was huge. And as it was like 1 minute it's over by the curb, on the sidewalk looking at us, and the next minute it's flying over, just like float, just and it got, I'd say, about a foot away from the passenger side. And I'm yelling at Carol, roll up the effing window, roll up the effing window. She's rolling up the window. I said, lock the door, lock the door. And she's screaming at me, punching me, just punching me.
Are you fucking serious, dude?
Trying to get out of her seat with her seatbelt on into the driver's seat, right?
Because of how afraid she is.
I reached down behind the bucket seat and go over and slam the lockdown on her side. Mine, I always lock and everything. And this, I got eye to eye with this reptilian, draconian reptilian. And its eyes were the size of a freaking like salad plate. Okay. And its mouth, when it opened its mouth, they had 2 rows of fangs, and they were needle sharp. And when it stuck its tongue out, it was a forked tongue like a snake.
Get out, dude.
It was the length of a sub sandwich that you get at Subway. Its skin, when it opened its mouth, this piece on the top of its head came up and went like this. It was kind of like a cobra, but it was one piece kind of frayed at the top, went up like this, and then its neck came out. Just like got bigger.
To stretch out for the jaw.
Yeah, just got bigger when it opened its mouth and went like that. Yeah. And it literally scratched the side of my car where Carol was and everything. She's beating on me. And the only thing that I could do is gun it. So I gunned it. And I mean, I went back. We had to go down. I went down 9 blocks, over 6.
Oh my God.
Over 6, and then came back around, not in that area, but came back down her street in the opposite direction. And I pulled up really close to her front door with my headlights on. And she was like, Vicky, I'm going to call you when you get home. Answer the phone. Please answer the phone. I want to make sure you're going to make it home safe, because you got to go back. Oh my
God, dude. She has to go back. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go back in that direction. And it was like a half a block away from my house by then, you know, and stuff. After it would have been by the time I got back, because I took the long way because I didn't want it to follow us. So I turned around and I was like, I'm going to go around the other way, the same way we came. I'm going to go up 9 blocks, down 6, and then cut over. And end up on Salmon Street off of 82nd. And she's like, okay, but I still want to call. I'm going to call you, make sure you made it home. Okay. So by this time, my dad's home, right? And he's like, I'm like in a panic, and I'm really shook and everything. And I'm like, this can't be real. This can't be real. And I'm like, of course it's real. Carol saw it. I saw it. It's real. I got the claw mark down the side of my Camaro and everything. Oh, and it's claws. There's claws curved like this. And I'd say it was about, oh my gosh, the thickness of my cane right here. Yeah.
Thick.
Yeah. And they move fast. And the thing is what was really weird is I wasn't scared. I wasn't freaking out. She was freaking out. And then I think someone said something to it, because I didn't look back in my back window and my Camaro and everything. I was staying focused to see what it was going to do and to get out of there and get Carol off of me from beating me, so I could drive. But I broadied out of there, dropped her off, went down the 9 blocks, over the 6, and came back home, got out of the car, opened up the gate, cruised in there, shut the gate, and then ran into the house like my pants were on fire. Okay. And my dad goes, what in the hell is going on with you? I said, Dad, you're not going to believe what we see. You're not going to believe what you see. And then the phone rings, and then it's Carol. And he's like, who in the hell's calling this late at night? I said, it's Carol. Something happened. I'll tell you later. I got to calm down. He's like, okay. So I went downstairs, and she's like, you made it home safe? And I'm like, yeah. And we talked for like 2 hours about it, because we were really rattled.
Of course. You know what?
Really rattled. And we didn't know what it was. We did not know what it was at the time.
I have a theory. Okay. And we went over the time. There's going to be the last couple of these. I love this. Oh my God. This is a fucking amazing episode. So I'm just bringing in real quick. I think what happened was it wouldn't have attacked you if you guys wouldn't have stared at it. Why? He found out that he was visible to you. So what happened was you saw it because you have the gift. And when you told her, look, that spectrum, the veil became very thin at that moment inside that vehicle, and she was able to see it too. When he saw that, he was like, game over. These girls are gonna die. Man.
I'll tell you what it was. It was like, like a week before Halloween, people throw parties.
Mm-hmm.
It was a week before Halloween. That's why my friend thought it was a mask. And when I pointed it out, it's not vibrating when it walks. It's not shaking that jelly shake, and everything. It was literally real. What my guides told me is that it would have killed her if she walked home. She is a mixture of Korean and Native American. Okay.
There it is. He's sensitive to it too.
And the thing is other people would think it was a costume, but being able to see and everything, I knew it wasn't. So it was out to pray that night. Do you understand what I'm saying? For food and everything. And Carol would have ended up as one of its meals.
I have to close out the show.
I understand.
But dude, Vicky, we're gonna get you back on, dude. This is amazing.
I'd love to come back on. Thank you so much.
You're a fountain of energy and a fountain of wisdom, and I would love to get you back and tell me more stories. You know why? Because I get a kick off of it, and I know that once the listeners listen to this stuff, they're gonna love you. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check her out. Again, Vicky from Born Awake Oracle on Instagram. And not forget to check us out at ParanorRadio.com. Thank you so much, Vicky, for joining us today. Thank every single one of you for staying tuned in to Paranormal Radio Podcast. Drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. That allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Peace out.
Thank you.
Paranoid Radio.